we had built this really great momentum from 2020 to 2022 and going into 2023. People were like, oh, we love what y'all are doing. We got some really awesome partners on board, sponsors on board. But then in 2023, we just started to see a shift. Folks who we traditionally had worked with, but might have started to pull back out of fear of, pushback that they might have gotten from leadership or whatever it may be. So we started to see a shift from that and a variety of other things to where, I was just trying to juggle getting ready for my first daughter and everything. So it was a lot going on at that time in 2023 to where I was like, does this even make sense anymore of what we're trying to do, at least from a financial standpoint? In business, you have to always weigh that financial component too, to where, if things aren't looking right and I'm bootstrapping savings and things of that nature, I'm betting a lot on this. Does it make sense anymore? I prayed about it and I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Welcome back to Testify and Pitch, a space where founders, builders, and visionaries share not just what they're building, but the testimony behind the vision. So today, we're joined by Kiante Bush, an award-winning tech leader, ecosystem builder, author, angel investor, and the list goes on, who is deeply committed to expanding opportunity for the next generation of founders. Kiante is the founder of Venture for Them, a startup launchpad based in Washington, D.C., created to support HBCU founders as they launch and grow their companies. So through the program, founders gain access to non-dilutive funding, connections to VCs and C-suite mentors, educational workshops, and a community designed to help them build and to thrive as well. His work and leadership have earned national recognition, including being named Technically's Tech Community Leader of the Year in DC, a top finalist and awardee for Black Ambition, a Black Engineer of the Year Award for Leadership, a Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and a HBCU VC Fellow. Man, how you keep up with all that? But beyond the accolades, Kiante's journey is one rooted in purpose and a commitment to opening doors for others. Today, we'll hear more about his story, the vision behind Venture for Them, and how his work is helping the future of HBCU founder ecosystem. Man, I can't wait for this one. I get so excited. Y'all know about every episode. So let's get into it. But now, so Kiante, welcome to Testify and Pitch. Before we get into it today, how are you feeling about today?
I'm good. I'm excited. I appreciate the invite. I know you've been supporting everything we've been doing, for the last couple of years, since I came to Baltimore for Techstars. So just excited to be able to be a part of this. And I love the platform you're building and just everything you're doing to exemplify, more of also the spiritual side of it, the mental and emotional side of the journey of it all. So I'm honored. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice. You mentioned something, so I'll pick it up. Talking about our Techstars days. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's a full circle moment for me. And I'm looking at the calendar here. And almost 2 years ago
Yeah.
to this point in March, we started our journey at Techstars in Baltimore. And so that's how we met, the one and
Yeah.
only Kiante as one of our mentors, advisors on the program. And it's just funny because I met you serving
Yeah.
in that capacity. And here we are today again. You're still serving, giving
I
back in the
appreciate that.
same capacity. So that's dope, man. That's dope.
Absolutely. I appreciate the support from the jump and just, we both are servants. And so, you know how it is. It's rooted in the community. So that's all we got to do. That's all we can do.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I know Kiante a little bit, but for the people
Yeah.
who don't know Kiante, who's Kiante and, tell us where you're from.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland. For those who might not know, I'm about 10, 15 minutes from the DC line. Born and raised there. I've always had, I would say always just a passion for being around my family, very family oriented. Today I'm a, father of two beautiful, amazing daughters, a beautiful wife, my son, a brother. So even beyond a lot of the career, some of the accolades, I love family and I love faith. And I'm excited for the day to be able to talk more about the faith portion of it, how that drives everything that we do. But that's kind of me at the root of it. I can talk more about the career component too, if you want to dive straight into that. I'm also the CEO and founder of Venture for Them. And so what we are is we're a startup launchpad right here based in the DMV area. And so although our presence is specifically, well, most prevalently in the Mid-Atlantic region, supporting some of the local HBCUs, but we also provide support to HBCUs across the nation. We do on-campus pitch competitions, our 8-week accelerator. We do free entrepreneurship workshops on campuses. And so that's what Venture for Them does. At the root of it, as a startup launch pad, we help to bring especially student founders and also alumni, recent alumni, and so forth, to help bring their ideas to fruition. Just giving that guidance, bringing on mentors who are actual VCs and investors, and those who are CMOs and C-suite execs, to help really bridge that gap for whatever their main need is, and to help bring all of that to fruition. So that's what I do at my company, Venture for Them. I have a strong tech background. I've been in tech the past decade, from top companies like Accenture, Booz Allen, Deloitte, from roles from data visualization to software testing to project management, product management. So it's just been a joy to be able to see those skills now correlate to really just supporting the underdogs. I feel like we kind of sometimes have a chip on our shoulder from our communities where, you just really want to make it big and make your family proud and your community and your university proud. And so just been grateful to be able to take some of those skills from, big corporate, so to speak, to translate to some early stage founders and just, the everyday hustler just trying to bring that idea to fruition and do something big. So that's kind of me in a nutshell without giving too much before we dive into some questions.
Man, that's excellent. And you said you in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's bigger than a nutshell.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Yep.
I think everybody can see why we have you on this platform today,
Uh-huh.
with your expansive background. And I think I saw recently you participated in a TEDx
Yeah. Yeah.
talk.
I
So it's
did.
like, is there anything that you don't have your hands on right now? It's crazy.
Oh
Then
man.
your father, a family man, all these things. It's like, how does he do it all? But I love it.
That's a good question too. People ask me that a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. The TEDx, first shout out to TEDx Morgan State University. That was an honor. I had wanted to do a TEDx for a long time, and so it just aligned. It aligned perfectly, and God aligned that absolutely. I got on that stage. People may think sometimes behind the scenes like, oh, he get up there and it's boom, boom, boom. I'm telling you, the nerves are serious, but it was a blessing. I got a lot of great feedback, and I think that it really fell on the ears that it needed to hear it. So I was super grateful for that. But in terms of how I balance it all, man, I'm still figuring that out on a day to day. I do not have a clean cut answer for you, but I will say this though, man. I had mentioned I'm very family oriented. Got a beautiful family, and so that really helps to keep me grounded in a lot of ways on just legacy building in the sense of, just wanting to see more for my family than maybe what I had. And I had a lot of great resources growing up, but I just want to see more for my daughters and my wife and just all my family around me. An amazing mother. I'm the first generation college graduate now. So just being able to kind of break down those barriers, like all of those things have meant so much to me that even though the weight of everything in the world kind of gets draining. I think that for me, I just wake up just wanting to leave inspiration and leave impact and, just at the root of it all, take care of the family, exemplify the faith. So that when people look at me and they're like, how's he juggling all of this? I can't even say it's me. Like, that old Mary Mary song, it's the God in me. That's what gets me up and keeps me grinding. Just God gives me that strength and that tenacity to really just want more for my family and my life and the community at large. So that's what keeps me pushing. Family and the faith keep me going.
Man, Kiante for president. Kiante for
Hey yo,
president.
I, I don't know if I want that pressure, but I appreciate it. If you president, I'll be VP. I'll be VP for you.
We'll talk about that later. You talk about that later.
I got you.
One last question before we jump in. 'Cause you said university a couple times. There's a lot of debate about.
Yeah.
I don't want to start a war right now, but there's
Uh,
a lot of debate about the best HBCU, and
hmm
I just wanted you to, you know, provide your take on that.
Yeah, that might be the easiest question I get all day today. The greatest HBCU is the only national treasure, the illustrious Morgan State University. Granted, I love all HBCUs because I work with all of them, or at least the large bulk of them. But I don't want it to get confused. Morgan State University is the greatest. We bleed that orange, we bleed that blue, and that's just what we do, baby. That's what we
That's
do.
just what we do, baby. Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. We gonna let the people. I'm pretty sure somebody will have something to say about this.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be talking
Um,
trash, but it's like
yeah, yeah,
I love all y'all though. But I gotta show love to the alma mater, man, the national treasure.
nice. Shout out to Morgan State for sure.
Shout out to them.
Take us back on this journey. So we're gonna
Yeah,
embark upon this journey. When did you first get the vision
yeah,
to do what it is you're doing today?
yeah. I would say takes me back to 2020. That was really when God had given me this vision to pursue what we do adventure for them. And it was, as you know, everybody knows, 2020 was a wild time, right? I had just came back to Morgan State for my MBA. literally enrolled, started classes January 2020, pandemic hit March 2020. So like it was such a wild time to start a business around and even to go back to school around it, to be honest, because like a lot of the value for an MBA is really sometimes that international component too, if you're doing, global business or whatever it may be, and the network in person. But I really found a way to bridge that gap though. I joined every fellowship I could, every on campus, organization that I could to really still give that ROI of building that network. And so while I was at Morgan for my MBA and also just everything that I was seeing around 2020, right? Just all the racial tension that we were seeing, I knew that once I launched this business that I've been kind of sitting on, that I wanted to be very community bound, very community based because it was just so much that I was seeing a lot of hurt in our community. But then I was also seeing a shift of entrepreneurship. In 2020, a lot of companies for the first time had gone to a virtual format. And so people were home more. They finally were able to kind of step away sometime from that 9 to 5 hustle on site to be able to be home. And they got a lot of time back. And so I saw a lot of people being able to take advantage of hobbies that they always kind of wanted to get back into, but never just had that time. And so my wife is getting back into crochet and I'm seeing, my mother getting into painting. And so it was such a cool thing to see, even for the time being, if it didn't last as long as people wanted it to, just for that glimpse in life of like what things could be if people had that true work-life balance that they desired. And so I think that was part of it too, what inspired the entrepreneurial foundation of the business. And there was a couple of other components too. I went back for my MBA. I joined a fellowship called HBCU VC. And so they were teaching us more about venture capital. Super dope program. Shout out to HBCU VC,
Shout out.
Adia and the team. They taught us a lot about venture capital, the foundation of it. And all the ugly statistics of, Black founders getting less than 1% of, billions, hundreds of billions of funding. And so I knew it was bad. I just didn't know it was that bad. And so that inspired me too, like, man, we really got to make a shift. And if I can create something that can at least incrementally make that shift, like, that'll be a win for me. That'll be a win for me. And then especially being back at Morgan, that's what kind of led to the HBCU foundation of it, because I'm seeing other schools in Maryland, and shout out to them, of course, but like they just had these really awesome, robust entrepreneurship programs. And I just wanted to be able to see more for some of our HBCUs to where these students can get that same 10, that same, 5, 6 figures of funding, and so that's what inspired it all too. So collectively seeing all of these things transpire in 2020 really empowered me to launch Venture for Them. I was able to get some funding through Thurgood Marshall College Fund and through LVMH through this program called Hennessy Fellows Program. Shout out to the program, dynamic. That really helped with the seed funding to launch our first cohort for our Venture for Them, HBCU All-Stars. And so that was amazing. Launched our first cohort, got some really awesome traction from there. And just the way God aligned it, 4 years later, just continuing to do what we love. It comes with challenges, of course. We're just doing what we love. But that really is what inspired it, just those collective events back in 2020.
Awesome, awesome. You mentioned something there. I'm gonna
Yeah,
circle back to it. You said briefly, like we sitting on your idea.
yeah,
Um, I hear that a lot, especially in this startup space.
yeah,
And typically for folks who are just thinking about getting into the space, it's like I got this idea,
yeah.
and I know how big it can be,
Mhm.
but the magnitude of it scares me, and so I'm gonna
Yeah,
stay on this safe side until I figure out all the logistics, and when I feel like I'm ready to start, like, I got this idea perfected. And
yeah,
so if you could talk a little bit about just that sitting on an idea, and how did you
yeah.
go from sitting to, "Okay, I'll put my foot out there and make the first step."
Yeah, yeah, like you said, you gotta stay off that safe side, that safe window, stay off of it. I'm a big Nipsey fan, Nipsey Hussle fan, rest in peace. And so, like Nipsey said, stay dangerous, get off of the safe side, stay dangerous. Find a way to kind of live on that edge because tomorrow is not promised. If you have a dream and a goal, find a way to put that into fruition. And so as founders, we talk a lot about this thing called an MVP, right? A minimum viable product. And so it might not have to be this grand, full-fledged dream that you have of like this robust app or whatever it may be, but at least something to where, hey, this is something I can landing page I can send people to, a IG, something they can tinker with, and just try to incrementally like get that ball rolling. That's super important because I feel like for us, a lot of it is just that fear of failure. And somebody said something recently. It's probably like an old proverb, but they were like, let me see if I can quote it right. They said that the master has failed way more times than the apprentice has even tried. And that sat with me because I'm like, man, the way we think about failure often is kind of misconstrued. But like that's why a lot of people have a fear of diving into things. They just fear that failure. And you've already counted yourself out. You don't even know the plan God has for you, the plan that He'll align with people around you. But sometimes we just count ourselves out and get that imposter syndrome, like, nah, this might not be for me. But you gotta stay dangerous. You gotta just shoot those shots. Connect, get in every room you can, connect with folks, and try to bring that to fruition. And think about that proverb, in a bit of a deeper layer, in the sense of, that first idea might not be it, like the
Yeah.
idea that like changes everything for you. But if you shoot enough shots, you'll learn to pivot. You'll learn to. I mean, look at stories like, of course, everybody knows how Amazon, transpired from, just a bookstore to like the conglomerate that it is today. And so just trying, even if that first iteration is not what you expect, you learn from the business, you learn what worked well, what didn't work well. And then after maybe 4 or 5 plus iterations, now you're like, okay, like this is the one right here. So just, all that to say, really just diving in as quick as you can and fail fast, but fail forward. And keep just trying to bring that dream to fruition because tomorrow's not promised. And there might be somebody out there that really needs what you're trying to build.
Yeah.
And so, get out there and make it happen.
I love that, especially the piece on failing fast, and
Yeah.
then even the latter portion on somebody out there needs what you're sitting on
Yeah.
today.
They
And then
do.
even us, we need what
Yeah,
somebody
we
else
need.
is sitting on today. So the more we can exchange like these stories about being in the trenches
Yeah.
and sharing stories about, lessons learned and what failure looked like for us early, I think
Yep.
the more we're able to move that needle. I was watching this YouTube video. I go down
Yeah.
these rabbit holes every now and then in
Hmm.
the tech company Replit. Well,
Yeah.
they did some behind the scenes recording before they launched, and so we were
Hmm.
able to see, like, what was going on in the corporate office with their engineering team before they
Yeah.
launched, and it's crazy, right? We all know Replit today and the amazing things they're doing in the agent space,
Yeah.
but leading up to that launch, certain things came down to, like, the wire, and they were still
Yeah.
trying to perfect certain things, and they put something out in the press, but it hadn't been validated yet, and they're hoping they were gonna be able to
Yep.
follow through on those commitments, so it was just nice to see, like, even the most esteemed
Yeah.
companies who might have
Hmm.
raised the hundreds of millions of dollars, they too are still sometimes trying to figure things out.
Yeah. Yep.
And
You're right.
that's why like you doing what you're doing today is super important.
Yep. I appreciate that. To piggyback off of that, like you said, like people do a really good job looking like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But you don't always, I mean, sometimes even in business, it's a highlight reel like social media. You don't always see that behind the scenes, up late night, crying, stressed, they just kind of see the glitz and the glam of the journey. But like you said, it's important to share that behind the scenes so that people don't have the misconception that like failure is always something to look at negatively.
That's right.
Sometimes it's just like that redirection is the protection from God, to help shift,
Ooh.
where you actually need to be. So it's just important. It's important to receive all of those things and see it and get that behind the scenes.
Yeah. This is a nice segue actually,
Yeah.
to the behind the scenes that
Yeah.
people probably don't get to see. So
Yeah.
hopefully those that tune in are gonna get closer and really
Hmm.
listen and hear. But
Yeah.
talk to us about any particular moments during your journey so far where maybe your faith was really
Yeah.
tested with through those
Yeah.
trials and challenges that we all go through.
Yeah. That's a good question. And so I had talked about kind of like the beginning of the launch in 2020, but even like diving into 2023, so we had built this really great momentum from 2020 to 2022 and going into 2023. People were like, oh, we love what y'all are doing. We got some really awesome partners on board, sponsors on board. But then in 2023, we just started to see a shift. Just in general, the market across the board was just looking kind of crazy in some regard. Even like some of the potential partners and sponsors, we've been talking about like this DEI bubble, so to speak, where some people just did it to check a box versus really caring. And so I think in 2023, we started to kind of see some of that shift as well, of folks who we traditionally had worked with, but might have started to pull back out of fear of, pushback that they might have gotten from leadership or whatever it may be. So we started to see a shift from that. and a variety of other things to where, I was just trying to juggle getting ready for my first daughter and everything. So it was a lot going on at that time in 2023 to where I was like, does this even make sense anymore of what we're trying to do, at least from a financial standpoint? From a community impact point, I was always down for it. Like, I know this is important, but in business, you have to always weigh that financial component too, to where, if things aren't looking right and I'm bootstrapping savings and things of that nature, I'm betting a lot on this. Does it make sense anymore? And so that's what 2023 looked like, at least early into it. That's what it looked like for us. Just kind of partner stepping back in some regard and things of that nature. So I talked to mentors about it and I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I prayed about it and I was just like, I don't know what to do. But there were key events in 2023 that changed kind of like everything, to be honest. And so I've been trying to shout out some of the instrumental organizations throughout this component because I always want to give my flowers to the people who believed in us. I'm never like a self-made, I did this by myself type of person. Like, I got to show love to the folks who were the foundation. And so all that to say, 2023 looking crazy. We got a really big win through Black Ambition. For those who don't know, that's Pharrell Williams and Felicia Hatcher and so many of the other amazing team. That is their organization. They help to fund, sometimes, and I would say maybe early stage, not necessarily early stage, but scaling as well. Black, Latina, Latino, founders who are really trying to do amazing things in the community and are excelling at a high level in business. So shout out to the Black Ambition family.
Shout
I had
out.
been watching them for a while, and I was like, man, I don't know if I should apply. I don't feel like we are where we need to be yet. But I took a step out on faith and I had applied. And it went well. We went through a series of interviews and things of that nature and we got in. And it was just such a blessing, to be able to get funding through that program, to be able to be connected to a brand like that, to be able to say that, Pharrell and the team are on our cap table and, that association of such a dynamic brand where they're working with Louis Vuitton and Adidas, through their brand. And so connecting us into these rooms where I've been able to work with folks at Louis Vuitton and so many of these amazing organizations that really was a big win that shifted the trajectory for us. But like we had said, behind the scenes, people might not have known. They're looking on Instagram like, oh, they're doing these pitch competitions and the summit and this and that. But behind the scenes, I'm like, okay, financially, does this make sense for us? But that win from Black Ambition was definitely a big win that helped to give us some additional momentum, not even just from a finance standpoint, but from a coaching and a validation standpoint of I see you. I see you. I see what you're doing. Keep going. Sometimes that's super important for founders too. People just think it's about a quick check. Sometimes it's just about that validation of like, keep going. Like, I see, don't give up yet. Lock in a little harder. And so that's what it was for us. That was a big shift. But behind the scenes, that was a tough year that shifted into something amazing. And it's continued to keep us in a good space of momentum, even moving forward up into today. So always grateful for that team. And many of the others I had mentioned prior to. But that was a test. That was a serious test that God really aligned. He absolutely aligned it.
I love it. And so I'm just curious to hear,
Yeah.
what did you learn about God through that process? Because sometimes it's like, and I hear many stories, it's like, I
Yeah.
was down to my last fill in the blank,
Yeah.
but God,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
so I know that's not always an easy journey,
Yeah.
especially when people who like just have faith and trust. But
Hmm.
when all you see in front of you is, let's say, for example, a declining bank account,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
always easy to just say, "Oh yeah, I'm
Nah.
good. I'm trusting
Mhm.
God for
Right, right.
deliverance and
Yep.
provision." So, what did you learn about God through that process?
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. It's a lot easier said than done. I would love to say that I kept that strong faith and was like, "We got this." But no, it was some nice I'm like, "Man, what am I about to do, God? Like, I know you gave me this vision. How you just aligned everything from the jump, it just made sense." And so, like, don't leave me hanging. There was absolutely some doubt. I can't even lie and say I was just grounded the whole time. I wouldn't even lie and say that. But, I mean, even though faith of a mustard seed, right? So like that mustard seed was still there, but I'm like, I need to get this to be like a watermelon, a walnut, something, So I really just kept praying on it though and keeping that faith. And I did have to learn to let go and let God, not to be cliche, but I had to learn to give up some control. I think sometimes in business, you just feel always in control. You kind of walk in with this chip on your shoulder of like, I need to secure this deal. I need to walk in confident and boom, boom, boom. And if you aren't confident, the investors will smell it on you. There's always this kind of like braggadocious type of mentality sometimes that you have to have in the business world because like people say sometimes if you aren't a wolf, and you come off as a sheep, the wolf's gonna tear you up in the business world. But at the same time, though, I had to learn to kind of step back from that. I had to step back and just let God really lead the way and take control and realize that I don't know what tomorrow looks like, in this landscape, but I trust you. I trust you. I had the family around me supporting, and not even just letting God take control, but I also had to learn to let my team take control in some
That's a
aspects.
good
And I
one.
think that's tough for an entrepreneur too, because the business is your baby, right? And sometimes I like the way I work is I always have these high expectations of everything. If my name is attached to something, like I want it to be successful. Like if Kiante is part of it, I got certain just standards of how I want things to operate. But I also had to learn, like, okay, I can't do this all by myself. I tried earlier and it just didn't make sense for me. I was burnt out trying to take every call and be in every room. I needed a team. And so, this is a great moment for me to shout out the team too. So shout out to Clay and Jeff and Jewel, just supporting the journey. Because that's one thing too. I had to really like lean on the team. Like, all right, yeah, what do we think we should do? And how do we pivot? How do we keep this thing afloat? So letting go and letting God, but also letting that control go of, all right, I got to trust my team. If I'm burnt out and I can't get in every room, Jeff will pull up and handle it. Clay will pull up, Jewel will pull up and handle it. And so that really kept me afloat as well in those moments, knowing that, a team trusted me. They trusted me. They were there to support me, even if they didn't have it all figured out. We were going to figure it out together. So those were just some of those moments. But letting go of that control was one thing that was key in those moments and really helped shift the dynamic of everything that we do today.
Awesome. I love that you mentioned the team component because I gotta
Yeah.
say I've been to a couple of your events
Yep.
and man, you can see your team and how y'all work and move and just
Yeah.
bring about just greatness
Yep.
in
Yep.
everything that you do.
I
So
appreciate it.
shout out to your team as
Yeah, shout out
well
to
as
him, man,
someone
the
who's been on
legendary.
the attendee side. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Y'all know how
Mhm.
to throw an event for sure.
I appreciate you for sure, man. I'm grateful. Like it's all of us collectively just making it happen, and I'm always grateful for it because yeah, I got an amazing team. So shout out to them.
Nice. So we're gonna take a slight pivot
Yeah. Yep.
to just the business aspect.
Yep.
What makes what you're doing today, so the approach of your company today,
Mhm.
so unique?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, for a few things from a few verticals, I would say one, I don't really know many at all startup launch pads that have been created by HBCU founders for HBCU founders, and so that's one thing where we really have leverage because we're not just outside looking in. What do we think these students need? What do we think these founders need? But, my team, I have a team of entrepreneurs who went to HBCU. So we know exactly what we wanted to see as students, but then being so connected to the campuses, exactly what these students want. And that's sometimes a misconception in business too, that we just make a lot of assumptions of what we think our users want and our customers want. But just having that foundational connection to the campuses always gives us leverage, to where a lot of folks especially want to go straight to the deans and the provosts and everyone, but like being rooted and connected with those students especially moves the needle for us because those are the ones who are getting their peers out to the events.
Yep.
I'm as a student, I'm not necessarily going to an event because my campus president told me to go. I want to know who's in the building. Like, are my homies going to this, pop up on campus, this career fair, whatever it may be, this pitch competition? And so that really drives it a lot. Our campus ambassadors that we have 200 plus campus ambassadors across the nation representing 50
Hey.
plus universities. And so they really help move the needle for us. So shout out to every volunteer, every ambassador that has really supported because that's some of our secret sauce, that bottom up impact. And of course, we work with, the presidents and the provosts too, because they really help move the needle from an institutional standpoint. But from that community standpoint, the root of it is really like the ambassadors that we work with and the volunteers and everybody that shows love and supports. Because you can have amazing programming as much as you want, but like if those seats don't fill up and the students don't feel a connection and a value add to it and a representation in the room, then did it really happen? If nobody was there as much as the programming was great, did it really happen? Like who did it really impact? And so that's important for me. I would say the community foundation and the connection to the mission is what separates us. And then a couple of like more structural things differentiate us. Not only do we do programming and activations, but we have a product and innovation side. So we've worked pretty hard on this app that we launched toward the end of last year called Fund Forward. So if you've never been able to join any of our events or any of our programming and accelerators or whatever, you just got to go straight to the app store, type in fund, FUND dot FWD, Fund Forward, and you still can take advantage of the community and the resources because any workshop or panel we've had is right on the app. It's right on the education tab. If you're looking for funding and you didn't get funding through our pitch competition or our accelerator, there's literally a funding app, a funding tab, which is what Fund Forward is for, to where it's a repository of hundreds of other pitch competitions, accelerators, fellowships, VC intros. And so that's really kind of like our one-stop shop too of anybody who wants to connect with the community but can't make it to like an in-person or a virtual event. So those are a few things that really differentiate us. The community, foundation of it, the mission, the direct correlation and relationships we have. But then also just some of the innovation that we've been able to push out, like, Fund Forward and a few others that are in the pipeline to help support our community. So that's just off the top, just a few to differentiate us.
He's like, just a few.
Just a few. Yeah, it's still more.
You name 100 killer things they're doing, and it's just a few.
Yeah, I don't want to give them too much. I don't want to give them
Don't
too
read too
much.
much. No, when y'all launched the app, I immediately downloaded it,
I
and I'll make
appreciate
sure we
that. For
plug it
real.
here. But what y'all offer is like a complete package,
Yeah,
right? Have some people that address, one portion of a need, and then
yep,
they have to go somewhere else to get the other portion. But
exactly.
y'all, it's all in house.
Yep,
It's
yep.
all in
That's
house.
that's the
That's
vision.
what I
It's all
like
by
about what you're
design.
building.
Yeah.
Nice. So I have to ask. I always ask this question: what type of introductions or connections or even collaboration or partnerships would
Yeah.
be most helpful for you and your company right now?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. For me, just anybody that's passionate about really supporting founders, supporting diverse founders, supporting HBCUs, anybody that's, excited even from of industry, getting students into a pipeline of, talent acquisition. That's always important for us. Although we have a very strong entrepreneurial side, we also have a very strong entrepreneurial side too, to where you may not be looking for entrepreneurial students, but you just need some brilliant computer science students for your tech company or fintech students for your finance or marketing, whatever it may be. And so that's always an important component of a lot of our activations too, to have these companies there as a career fair component to get these students hired. Because if anybody's paid attention, the job market is gruesome right now. And so we need to get more folks in the room. And a lot of these students just don't have $1,000+ to buy your conference ticket and the flight and the hotel. So like for us, it's important for us to give them these experiences on campus, which is why we do like our HBC Universe pop-ups and our summits. So for us, it's anybody who's really trying to bridge that gap, whether you want to invest in a student founder that's brilliant and has a successful future and potentially great ROI for you, or you want to support from more of an entrepreneurial standpoint for talent pipeline acquisition. So anybody who's passionate about HBCUs, whether you win or not, that's always our thing too. It doesn't have to just be that you went to a HBCU, but you understand the value of it, you understand the disparities and resources, and you just want to support. That's what I'm big on. It's a few people that come to mind off the top that I'd love to work with in the near future, like Robert F. Smith. He was a big inspiration in what we do through Venture for Them, just seeing how he built Vista and Vista Equity and seeing how he paid off all those brothers from Morehouse, their student loans and everything. I'm like, man, I would love to do that. And so early in those days of 2020, 2021, I was watching what he was doing and he was a big inspiration. Would love to work with him down the line, or like Mackenzie Scott, and they're giving her giving away $1 billion+ of her wealth to various HBCU campuses who've never seen this amount of money before, this amount of funding. And so she's somebody I would love to sit down with just for, a coffee chat. I know she got a lot. I'm sure she's super busy, but just kind of like manifesting folks that I would love to even collaborate with beyond companies at large, individuals who have really inspired a lot of the work that we do, from like Arlen Hamilton, of course, and just so many other people. Arian Simone through Fearless Fund, like so many people really inspired the work that we do. And Omi Bell from Black Girl Ventures. It's so many other people I could name, but just, wanted to give them their flowers and a lot of the inspiration and work that we do, and people I'd love to possibly work with in the future. So hopefully
Man, I
that
like
answers
that.
your question.
Absolutely. And I'm a big believer in just the power of manifestation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's like
absolutely.
name it and claim it. And I've seen time after time where
Yeah,
people have declared things, even myself personally, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
God sent me to this place, and that person knew that person, let's put in your example, Robert F. Smith, and was able
Hmm.
to make an introduction. So I'm glad
Yep.
you put names to it. Somebody
Absolutely.
watching today is
Yeah.
connected to Robert, Mackenzie, everyone that Kiante just named,
Yeah. Yep.
they know what to do now.
I
So how
appreciate you
can
for real.
someone reach you that wants to be supportive?
Yeah, absolutely. Please find me on LinkedIn, Kiante, Kiante Bush, of course. Feel free to shoot me a DM. I'm pretty responsive for the most part. So we'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. If you'd love to connect with the company and just see at large what we do, you can go to venture, VENTURE, the number 4, THEM.com and kind of get a big quick glimpse of what we do. Same for socials on Instagram. You can do at venture, VENTURE, number 4, THEM. And that also throughout the weeks, we post funding opportunities, events that we have coming up, collaborations. So you can find us there as well. But I would say those are like the three core areas from our website to where you can join our newsletter to LinkedIn, my personal one, and also our Instagram. Those are probably the three primary ways to get connected with us. So please don't hesitate to give a follow, reach out. We'd love to connect with you and be a resource for you.
Awesome. Final question. What is one reminder, affirmation, or words of encouragement that you
Yeah.
want people to walk away with after hearing your story?
Yeah, yeah. I would say, I mean, I like to close out. I know this is very faith-based, testify and pitch. And so, man, I mean, one of my favorite scriptures ever since I was growing up was Philippians 4:13. I can do all
Uh-huh.
things through Christ who strengthens me. So that's one of the things that always kept me going in this. When like, how I told you, even when 2023 was looking crazy, that was a scripture that I had meditated on heavily. And it's a lot of people's favorites, but just when I had started just reading the Bible, like I was like, okay, this is a powerful one. It's not hard for me to memorize and I just always been one of my favorites that I held dear to. It's a lot of others too, but from the foundation, even as an early believer, that was one of my favorite scriptures. So I'm just, just knowing that I can do all things because I'm connected to a higher power. I got that confidence and that faith that it's not just me advocating in these rooms, but before I even speak, and open my mouth, I have a higher power, advocating on my behalf. And so I would say, just keep your faith, whatever drives you. For me, it's especially faith and family, but just whatever drives you, keep going. Like we said, don't just sit on those ideas and, just lack faith in yourself, but go out there and get it. Stay dangerous, stay confident, even if it's just a small iteration to get the ball rolling. And I gave my contact info, so please reach out to me. Don't be afraid to reach out to folks so they can tell you the do's and the don'ts just in case you might be able to avoid some of the issues and headaches we had to deal with, right? I'm always big on giving free game on if I have time and availability to just be able to share that knowledge and that wealth of, how can we expedite your process? If this took me 5 years to figure out what all can I give you in 5 minutes to be able to help save some time in your journey. So big on that, reach out, network, but keep going, keep that faith.
Awesome. Keontae, this has been amazing. And I just
I
want to say thank
appreciate you.
you for joining us today. I appreciate everything you've done throughout the years. So I look forward to this message getting out. And,
Yes.
and again, thanks for your transparency. It means a lot.
Absolutely. I appreciate the intro. I appreciate the invitation and just all the intros you've made for me and everything from you supporting from the jump. So grateful for this opportunity and I look forward to how it may be able to impact others' journeys. But super grateful and I appreciate you.
Thank you.